Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Around the Ropes podcast, YouTube exclusive. Now, guys, you know that we talk a lot about independent wrestling, and one of the companies we love talking about is Immortal Championship Wrestling. And one of their, I think you can say one of their newcomers into the company is a guy. Now, folks, if you've never seen this guy in action, I highly recommend you see him in action because the character himself is a sight to be seen. And guys, I'm talking about the one, the only, Brother Jonas. What's going on, man?
I like it. Thank you very much, my man. How are you?
Doing good. I'm glad to finally get you on the podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a little bit of back and forth, but I'm glad we were able to link up. Yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting with you tonight and seeing what everybody's got going on.
Absolutely. But let's get into, before we get into, with Immortal and everything else, let's get back into what got you into pro wrestling. What was there a moment or a match?
Honestly, I've been a fan since I was a toddler. My mom had to remind me of stories of how I wouldn't go to bed unless, like I'm jumping up and down in the crib at the end of the night, unless she put in the Hulk Hogan Hulkamania VHS tape, which we still have. So it's been I didn't have Superman or Batman. I had Hogan. I had Hulkster. So he was my superhero growing up, and and then obviously Warrior and Macho and guys like that. But I've been a fan since toddlerhood, and that'll age myself for anybody who can put two and two together. But yeah, man, all the way through, and then you throw in some ECW, throw in some Ring of Honor, and WWE's, throughout the way, and you got a lifelong wrestling fan.
Which is weird though, because like I've asked a lot of people that question. A lot of times people will say, "Oh, they watched in the Attitude Era, then they dropped out." Like about the time when Cena came in, which is like 02, 03.
Sure.
But to see that you've been a wrestling fan through all of that, I commend you a lot for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. It's a fun little genre we put ourselves in. So I love everything about it,
So now, was there a moment when you decided, okay, this is the field I want to go into?
Unfortunately, it was like way later in life. I kind of wish I had started this journey, 20 years ago and had the same passion that I'm putting into it now. At this point in my life, I don't really have those performance center NXT high level goals. I'm realistic about what my body is going to be able to put me through. So like I said, without revealing the number, I'm a little aged for a rookie, but that's why I think character based character is the way to go. I'm not going to be Chris Benoit. I'm not going to be Daniel Bryan or Kurt Angle. I'm never going to be those guys as far as in ring work. But if I'm able to come out and put on a show and be a little colorful and maybe be a comedy match, there's different flavors of ice cream, and a good show is going to give you a little bit of everything. So, if I'm the ha guy and maybe a little creepy, a little spooky, a little trippy, that's those are all things that can fit into a wrestling show nicely. And it's there's not many people out there doing what I'm doing, so I just try to be unique, trying to set yourself apart.
Well, you mentioned before how you're not Chris Benoit or Daniel Bryan or Kurt Angle.
Sure,
but that's only because there's only one Brother Jonas.
Well, that's true. But no, just by saying that, I meant more that I would be I'm more of a character based guy, more than an in ring guy. Not that I don't take training seriously and I don't try my best to learn the holds and things like that, but might not be a wrist lock, collar elbow tie up into this. It's we'll see what happens. But yeah. as far as the lockups and stuff go, I'm getting the basics and I'm doing what I can with it. But it's all about the spookiness. It's all about the creepy character.
So then, where did you get your training? Where did you get your first kicks in with as far as training go?
I've actually been around. I've kind of dabbled a little bit and been here and there. My first go around was only a couple of months, but it was maybe back 10, 12 years ago at Institute of Pro Wrestling out in Syracuse with Zachariah Springate and some of the old 2CW crew from the Syracuse area. Unfortunately, when I was learning the bumps, I was taking them wrong. I kind of messed my back up, so I scared myself off with an injury. Took a couple of years off. Good amount of time, actually, probably a good 10, 12 years that I turned back into a fan and thought I was done, thought I had seen enough. But when I moved out to California for a while and Santino Brothers had an open tryout thing, so I kind of felt like, I'm in good shape again. Let's give it a go. That kind of reignited the spark. And then when I was out there, I was able to link up with on two different occasions, linking up training with Peter Avalon for a stint at the time, and then Brian Kendrick for a good almost a year or so. I was doing some of his shows, Wrestling Pro Wrestling, and just getting some real good experience and real good training too from some of the best.
Now,
I'm sorry. Then I almost thought that was the end of the sentence. Then we moved back home, and UWE, Upstate Wrestling Entertainment. They are originally they were in New York Mills, which is real close to me, about 10 miles from where I'm at. So I started training with Ronnie Rivera, the SOG Ronnie Ribs. Unfortunately, he had neck fusion surgery, so he's no longer training with us right now. Hopefully, he can come back. And then for the past few months, it's been with the great Ya Allah Ben Hameen, who is an awesome trainer. Super happy to work with Ben. And that's the end of my list of my resume of who I've trained with. So,
well, I want to go back a little bit because you mentioned two pretty big names in Brian Kendrick and Peter Avalon.
Sure.
Obviously, people don't know Brian Kendrick used to be in WWE. Peter Avalon is still in AEW, I think.
I think so. Yeah. not really featured too much, but yeah, I think he's still floating around.
Now, do you have any stories that that you can share as far as working with them, as far as any life lessons they gave you?
I mean, a lot of in-ring stuff for sure, because those guys are crisp. They are real crisp. Maybe just the fact too that depending on where you go, people are going to train you different things, different ways. So there's no real wrong way to do something as long as you're safe about it and you can explain why you hit the ropes with your back twisted or to the side instead of a flat. Just things like that. Little nuances. But as far as like stories go, not really so much, but just the knowledge that they bring and just being able to work with guys that crisp. They say iron sharpens iron, and working with guys that such a higher level than you, it's only going to bring you up, even if it's only one rung at a time. It's still invaluable knowledge, and just times out there was an awesome time.
So now, obviously, people now know you as Brother Jonas.
Sure.
Who came up with that name? Was that something you thought of, or was that something that training out in California did? How did that whole thing come to fruition?
Actually, yeah, it was me. I was when I came back up here actually with UWE. I was with Ronnie Ribs. He was a big help on bouncing ideas off of for what I wanted to do with this character. And I actually started with just the color scheme. I've always been a tie-dye fan. Like, I'm not as over the top as Brother Jonas is when it comes to having everything decked out in tie-dye. But just the look is unique again, and it's starting to come back. Everything old is new again. Everything retro is cool again. So I figured, go with the tie-dye look. And originally I was thinking Brother Jonas is more of a heel, more of a bad guy. So I mean, maybe he could be again, but right now we're kind of going in a different direction. So I kind of had like a cult vibe without calling it a cult. Never wanted to go religious with it or anything, because you don't want to offend anybody these days. But more of a darker version of where I'm at now with it. So then just the colorful, well, so to speak, colorful twist where I am more happy-go-lucky and more a little bit stoner-like or whatnot. That came from Amin. So he's a creative mastermind, and I like where we're going with it, because it's easier for me to pull off this wacky, cool, kind of stuff than it is the deranged serial killer that we had in mind. It was a cool idea, and it could be again, but I wasn't quite mentally there for it. Where I am, I feel comfortable with what I'm doing now. I think I got a good handle on this. So.
Well, it works out great though, because up in that area you have Woodstock, and Woodstock was famous for what happened. God, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can kind of fit into that almost to an extent.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of things you can do with this character. So I've had a lot of fun with it, and sky's the limit at this point, as you can see by the gold little accessory I have down here. So sky's the limit.
We're gonna get to that gold in a second, but now. Obviously, you said before when you came back to New York, you entered into UWA.
Mm-hmm.
How did that lead to you with Immortal?
Well, I think that more or less was through Hameen. He was kind of connected. He was one of their top talents. He has been, he's been established there for a while. And I think between him and Mike King, the promoter, he's a real good dude. They kind of linked up and they were kind of put it together that let's see what these guys can put together as far as an opening match, a training match. We'll give them just that top billing on the top of the card, or the top spot anyway, the opening spot rather, and just see if anybody could impress. And we've gotten lucky to get the spots that we've had, and we all know our role. We know we're still rookies in this game, and by no means do I take this lightly. You said we'll get to it later, but this is a thrill. This just being able to get the opportunity to work in front of great crowds and big numbers when it comes to those crowds, 500-600 people, and getting to work in the locker rooms that we've worked in. Just such veteran talent, local and former WWE, former AEW guys. You can't help but learn in such a great environment like Immortal.
Well, what your first Immortal show was when?
It was that last April show, Road to Immortality, that battle royal. So
I was
that
gonna
was
say,
everybody's first experience of Brother Jonas coming into that championship battle royal.
I was gonna say, not a bad debut show with that size crowd, because I was there for that one, and I remember
Yeah,
that crowd was rowdy as
for
hell.
sure. Yeah, we were all kind of peeking out the curtain, and we were, everybody was blown away, especially for us. Some of these guys from the UWE, it's their first match. I've luckily had at least a little bit of experience working in front of a crowd, but even still, you got those butterflies and your heart's racing a little bit, and it's a big feeling, man.
Well, now you bring up the fact, you just bring up an interesting point that you've had a little bit more experience than some of the other guys who are in UWA.
Sure.
Do you kind of sit there and be like, okay, even though I'm a rookie at this, that some of the rookies are looking at you for some advice?
Sometimes, yeah, but I mean, I don't take that lightly. Like when it comes to class, like I'm big on, everybody just kind of shut your mouth and just listen and just pay attention. So but I've heard a couple guys call me like the locker room leader, which again, I don't take that stuff lightly. That's pretty cool that they would look up to me, and yeah, if I could pass down any of the little bits of knowledge that I've got, then that's what this business is all about. I'm getting that knowledge from better people than me, so why not? So yeah. Yeah, I would think so, and I respect that, and I certainly appreciate it.
Well, let's talk about the nice shiny belt that is sitting right now in front of you.
Yes.
How did it feel being that, especially, we have the show August 12th.
Sure.
This is Immortal happening. This would be your third show with the company, and you're already holding gold.
Yeah, man. I'm super honored. Just that I was able to sneak my way into that little opportunity. Luckily, that 24/7 belt. As long as you got a ref with you, it's all fair game. So luckily, Adam Stone's been distracted with honestly bigger and better things than Brother Jonas. Real threats. He lost a match to Blaze Haram at the last show, and that got him frazzled. And I kind of saw my opportunity to sneak in and get him thinking, and got that tour of the brewery, got him thinking I was on his side, and then when the time was right, what it's all about. Even snazzed it out a little bit and got a little bit of a different color scheme going on with the thing too. So,
well, I mean, really, okay, you said, obviously you said when we started, you've been a wrestling fan your whole life. Could you
absolutely
imagine being in a company like Immortal, and like I said, this is your third show coming up on August 12th, that you'd be in the position you're in?
No, man. It was always a dream, and that's why, like, you give it a shot and you go train a little bit, and sometimes you can call it a day there. You're like, oh, I stepped in the ring, I'm good. And then sometimes you make it to that first show, and then you're like, oh, I heard the roar of the crowd, I'm good. But for some people, it's kind of your drug, So it's turned into like an addiction, man. Things are going real well with this, and like I've been saying, I'm not taking any of this lightly. I'm certainly not taking any of it for granted. Just riding the wave until my body tells me no more, or until people kind of poo-poo on the gimmick and poo-poo on me as a talent. But I think we're making good strides, and I'm having a lot of fun with this. So, and this is proof, man. So absolutely.
I can say this: I've seen your run so far in Immortal, because I've been to basically the last two Immortal shows.
Sure.
And I think it's safe to say it's going to take a long time for anybody to poof on your character.
I appreciate it. I hope I'm doing something that people are entertained by. You might not, like I said, you might not leave and say I was in the match of the night, but if you could say, hey, that guy was funny, or hey, remember when he said that, or it's just, if I could be a little goofy and kind of make some smiles and make some people laugh, and but keep it wrestling. It's still I still want to kick your ass, but I might be tripping you out at the same time. So we'll see. But yeah, man, absolutely.
I look at it this way, and this is one thing that's always been told in wrestling. You either want to get over, you either want to go over, or you either want to get over.
Sure.
With you at this point, I think you've gotten to the point where you've gotten over with the crowd.
I would hope so. I wouldn't want to agree with you, just because to me, I feel like that would be cocky at this point. Like I'm still earning my stripes. I'm still trying to mark my way up there. But yeah, hopefully this helps, and hopefully just the more I'm out there, and the more merchandise I'm getting, people want to see what kind of that third eye is all about. So I'm gonna have these glasses in stock real soon. I think they're coming in the next day or two. So yeah, man, let's open our third eye and let's see what Brother Jonas is all about moving into the future.
Well, I told you this beforehand. At that Immortal show, I am going to buy a shirt.
I appreciate it, man. I'll be out at the table, I'm sure.
Now, obviously, you have that, and you said, you're striving for more. Before we get into the other stuff that I want to get into, what is next for you in Immortal?
Just defending my title. My head's on a swivel. This thing's always it's always fair game, like I said. So I'm on edge a little bit, but I'm ready to defend. I'm ready to just stay on guard. I'm ready to win a couple battle royals. There's another one coming up real soon, so maybe I'll be in that one too. Who knows? I've had a couple under my belt and hasn't turned out my way, so I'm still looking for that first battle royal victory and just another match here and there, and just continuing to get my name out there and take those opportunities and make the most out of them that I can.
No, I completely said, and like I said, I can't wait to see what happens with you going further in Immortal, because I think right now, I think with you, and I'm being straightforward right now, that's one thing with us on the show is we don't sugarcoat it.
Sure.
Is the sky's the limit for you.
Thank you, man. Much appreciated.
And I think with the way your character is, and I agree with what you said before, you may not have the technical 5-star Kurt Angle-esque match.
Right.
I can't even say Kurt Angle. He's never had a 5-star match.
That's true.
Which is sad. But my point is this. You're not going to be the one on the card who's going to have the technical 5-star match. But you're the one who, when people leave, and, if you have a family who comes, for example, who the kids are going to turn around and go, oh, that guy with the third eye is the guy who I loved.
Exactly.
And yes, I'm not a wrestler. I'm far from a wrestler. But I think if I'm a wrestler and I hear that from a kid, that goes like top of my list. Sure.
Just got to stand out. There's too many guys out there with black trunks and black boots, or white boots, white trunks. It's if everybody's generic NXT 2.0 guy, then nobody's. If everybody's the same, then nobody's going to get over. So this is just my chance, my shot at it, and hopefully it's working. And like I said, I certainly appreciate what you're saying. Hearing that's even more motivation to just keep this thing rolling.
Well, now I want to take a step back from the wrestling world for a second, because I want to go into what you do, your shoot job,
right,
with the coaching at the gym. And obviously people who are friends with me on Facebook have seen that I've lost a significant amount of weight lately. So this actually kind of fits right into it.
Sure.
One of the things that I've been told for a while is you lose more weight working out with the weights than you do on cardio.
Yeah, because muscle is what's actually going to burn those calories. So the more you're going to build that muscle, you're going to eventually start burning that fat and burning those calories off. But there's different ways to do it. Different things work for different people. But I mean, the basic premise is the same. You want to be in a caloric deficit at the end of the day. If you're putting in more calories than you're working off, then it's going to be real tough to kind of see any difference. But when you start that, getting into better habits and, putting in a gym routine, whether it is a little heavier cardio style, eventually you'd want to throw in some weights and stuff and build that muscle, because that's good weight that you'd want to put back on. There's different ways to do it, but yeah, certainly it's great that you've been able to do what you've done in such a short time too. So don't let any plateaus scare you off either, because that'll probably happen at some point. Because when you're at your heaviest, you'll start to lose it real fast. Because this is coming from a former 265-pound guy. I lost 90 pounds in 9 months, so I'm right with you when it comes to that story.
But that's impressive. The other thing also that's always been told to me is you shouldn't go to a gym after a certain time, especially at the gym I go to is Planet Fitness. Mm-hmm. I'll say it right now, they're not sponsoring this video. I mean, I wish they would, but they're not.
Sure.
Is there any legitimacy behind that, as far as that you should go to
honestly,
the gym?
That's not something. No, not honestly. I've never really heard that, because again, it depends on the body and the individual's body and your sleep schedule, and like if you work an overnight job, what's nighttime or what's too late. So I mean, as long as there are a few key things as far as like nutrition go, when it comes to timing things out. Like you don't want to eat too close before bed. You do want to wake up and eat breakfast pretty much right away to get your metabolism started for the day. But as far as when you work out, I think that's up to the individual whenever you feel the most motivated. If you're a morning person and you can wake up and hit the gym by 6 a.m, then have at it. But if you kind of pick up steam as the day goes along, you feel better, you feel more alert, come 6 o'clock at night, then that's probably going to be the best bet for you. I would say just whichever is going to feel like you could get that better workout in.
Well, because I say that because there was a couple nights ago where I decided to go to the gym at 11:30 at night.
Right.
And everybody looked at me and said, "You're nuts."
Yeah. If you had the energy to get something done and you feel like it helped, then I wouldn't fault you at that one.
Well, I think also the biggest thing, and this is the one thing I learned going to the gym, the biggest reason why I've stuck with going to the gym, because I've done the gym now on and off for years. Like, I do those things where, I go a lot, then I stop, then I go, and then I stop. But I think now it's different because A, I'm seeing the results, and B, I also have the right support group behind me.
Absolutely.
I have the right people pushing me along.
Yeah, those things are key. And just keeping that consistency now is going to be big.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, the biggest thing also is proving people wrong. Because I can't tell you how many people look at me, especially people who haven't seen me in a long period of time, and they kind of look at me, and it's like they almost have like that dog look to them, like, what the heck? Like, they can't figure it out.
Right.
And I sit there and go, no, I've lost. I mean, I just bought myself a rugby shirt, a couple days ago, and it was a medium, and it actually fit me.
Good.
And people look, and I remember somebody looked at me, they're like, well, it looks too small. I'm like, yeah, but it fits me. I don't care if it looks too small.
Right. Yeah. No, man. Good for you.
But now, Mike, what it leads to with asking you now is, you have somebody, what would be advice that you would give to somebody who's either trying to lose weight or trying to put on muscle in regards to the gym?
Well, if you're somebody that wants to do both at the same time, that's going to be a lot harder. But if you're trying to do one or the other, obviously there are ways to do it. If you're just trying to lose weight, it's that caloric deficit. You're going to have to change what you're eating and when. But we want to probably be more of a cardio-based guy who works out. If you're trying to put on the muscle, eat lots of protein, lots of chicken, lots of fish. Eat even when you're full. It doesn't make sense, but it's going to go to the right places. That'll put some muscle on you. A good solid protein, like a protein shake, protein supplement. Those are all good, easy ways to get your stuff in. So, yeah.
Because I bring that up because I know somebody like me, I'm trying to, in a sense, almost do both. I'm trying to lose.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, no, and I always tell people this: I'm trying to lose the tire that's currently called my stomach.
Right.
But I also know, and this is the thing I laugh though, is people who look at me now. I'm only 5'5", so people 5'4" So I'm kind of on the short end of things.
Sure.
People look at me, they're like, oh, well, for you to be in the healthy BMI scale, you have to be like, I think 115. I think
yeah, that thing's outdated, honestly. You can tell when your clothes are starting to fit better, and again, it's all up to the individual body type of where you should be and where you need to be. So some of that stuff's real outdated. It's a good guide to go by for a more or less scale, but to live and die by that stuff, it's a little outdated as far as I would think.
Do both of what we were just talking about, as far as with losing weight and putting on muscle. Because I've always been, my entire life, a quick story. When I was 2 years old, I was 40 pounds, 40 inches tall. So I was considered like the perfect square. So I've always had weight issues my whole life. So the fact now that I'm losing the weight and it's actually coming off, and it's actually staying off, and I'm not sitting there going, oh, I'm going to go have McDonald's or have Burger King right now, and I'm actually sticking to it.
Yeah,
I think it's blowing me away.
Good, man. It's and that's big too. It's sometimes it's just getting over the hump of like those cravings. Like a lot of people's diets are so unclean, and you're getting a lot of sugars and a lot of things that like you don't even realize you crave. So once you get over the hump and just start eating clean, yeah, a chicken and rice meal doesn't have to be bland, and a sweet potato, it doesn't have to be, I got to eat this. It's good stuff. It tastes good. It's healthy for you. You just got to get over those humps of like that sugar craving and just get rid of the cookies, man. Just throw out those donuts. Not the Dippin' Donuts. You got to keep those, of course. But
of course,
any other donuts, get them out of here.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing with me is I've always been, growing up, I've always been the guy who would go for fast food and would be like, okay, let me get, like most people when they go for fast food, be like, okay, I'm going to get number 8 and that's it. Me growing up, and this was one of the reasons why I kind of stopped this whole eating the way I was, is I would go for number 8, 2 orders of mozzarella sticks, a large soda, a thing of chicken nuggets. And then I would sit there and I would look at myself and I would go, what the hell am I? And even now I think back to it now and I'm like, what was I doing to myself back then?
Yeah, I hear you. It's easy. It's easy to fall into those habits. I was there. I've been there, and sometimes you go up and down too. So sometimes you'll fall off, and you kind of get back to that negative mindset, and you just kind of let those bad habits pile up. But that's I get it.
And it's just, I think what I'm trying to get into anybody who's watching this is if you're in the situation that myself or even brother Jonas was in as far as with weight. I think we're obviously brother, he's lost a lot more than I've lost, but we're still both examples of you put the work in, you stick to it, and who knows what can happen.
Absolutely.
I mean, like you said before, you've lost 90 pounds in 9 months?
Yeah.
And I've lost.
That's what it was in the beginning. Yeah. I mean, I've fluctuated a little bit because then I'll put on muscle, then I'll start to get, real cut. I'll get my abs back, and then I'll think I'm too skinny. So it's still a mental game too, where you think you should be. But yeah, for the most part, I try to hover between 180, 195 ish. I think somewhere in there is a good range where I can hold my muscle, but I'm still agile enough to be able to move around and do some agile stuff.
Well, that's like with me. When people have asked me, they said, "What's your end goal?" And that's kind of why I started this hashtag now on Facebook when I post that I'm going to the gym, and I say "Road to 200," because my end goal is to be in like that 190 to 200 range.
Sure.
Because, like I said, for me to get down to 115, I would look completely.
Yeah. That's a little unreasonable to ask of anybody, not even of somebody coming off of a weight loss journey. But yeah, some of those numbers, like I said, that BMI, that some of that stuff's a little out of scale at this point.
I'll put it this way: for me to look like that, I'll look like a really bad version of the human-sized bobblehead. I'm just gonna say it. But want to get back into wrestling here for a hot second before we wrap up this interview tonight.
Yeah.
Obviously, August 12th, this is Immortal, happening at the Utica Civic Center. I forgot.
Nexus Center, yep.
Nexus Center, yes. At Mike King or anybody else who's watching from Immortal, I apologize. I've said the name 1,000 freaking times. I apologize for this once. How are you feeling about this pay-per-view and the fact that this is the first live stream pay-per-view for Immortal Championship Wrestling?
Oh, it's huge. There's a lot of huge names, a lot of opportunities. Just being there, and even if I don't even get a spot on the show, just being in that environment, it's real cool. There's actually a Cheeseburger from Ring of Honor has a seminar earlier in the day, so I'll be there for that. So I'll definitely be there, regardless one way or the other. But some other huge names, some really good matches have been signed. So it's a great time to be involved with this company. The first pay-per-view. I'm just happy to be able to help. Happy to be able to, because Utica is close to my area. Rome's only 10, 12-minute drive. Right up the road. So just to have this kind of stuff going on here, Enzo's here, Teddy Long, these are all real big names. So it's super excited, super grateful for these opportunities.
And also, like we mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, our very own Ryan Peterson will be the ring announcer for that big show because Mike King wants to bring in the big guns.
Absolutely.
For this show.
That's right.
But last question I got for you is this. I know you've been wrestling for a while. And I know you said, you don't have the aspirations of, the NXT or, any of that stuff.
Sure.
But if you have the opportunity to face any wrestler, doesn't matter if they're indies or in the professionals, if you want to call it that.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it's somebody who is deceased or somebody who's still around now. It doesn't matter what generation I'm here. Right. Who would be your one dream opponent?
Oh, that's a good question. Style-wise, I guess maybe like a superstar Billy Graham or somebody who stylized the tie-dye first. But personally, I think I would, on a personal level, I would love to be able to have a match with Ronnie Ribbs if he's ever able to give me one, or give somebody one more match, or Ben Hameen. Either of those two guys would be pretty perfect. I feel like character to character, we could put something together fun too. And on a personal level, to be able to work with those guys who've really honed me and turned me into what I am, or what I'm growing into. That would be pretty special too. So one of those guys would be cool. Maybe I'll get Hameen for it. Who knows? We'll see.
I as a wrestling fan, and like I said, seeing you in action, the one who would be for me, and you're gonna laugh that I'm going this route, Dude Love.
All right, I could certainly see the parallels. So I'll take it. Maybe I could do a little knee thing. Maybe we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
I'll say this much: it would be the most psychedelic match ever.
That's true, Daddy. I like it.
But brother Jonas, I appreciate the fact that we were able to finally get you on.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me, dude.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, What events do you have coming up that you'd like to promote, and where can our fans interact with you on social media?
Well, I'm working for PAC, Performance Arts Connection. I just had a show up in Vermont, actually. That was just a couple days ago. Immortal, right now, those are the two main ones that I have going on. So just keep checking, all our social medias, and we're trying to plug all the shows as they come. So check it out, PAC and Immortal. Trying to really stamp my name in these places and see whatever else is out there. I'm open. So message me, book me. Let's do it.
And again, you have an open invite anytime you want to come back on.
Right on, man. Thank you much.
The door's open for you. Again, guys, you can catch Brother Jonas in many of the phenomenal companies in the upstate New York area, including up in Vermont. You don't want to miss him in action. You believe me, there's no way you can miss him with the tie-dye stuff. Trust me on that.
That's right.
But again, for Brother Jonas, I'm John. It's been a YouTube exclusive for the Around the Ropes podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.
Later.